again. Welcome back. Savvy Health and Wellness at Home, Yoga. My name is Benett. Today I'd like to do something a little bit different than we have previously. We've been working a lot in movement and poses and working on strength and flexibility. And this time we're going to work on something called Yin Yoga. And it's Yin as opposed to Yang. And so if you're familiar with the Yin Yang sign, that circle with a couple of dots in it, Yang is the fire energy, the hot, the light, the go out and get it energy, and Yin is internal, is to look within, is to become softer, is to move slower. So it's a series of holding, we don't call them poses because it's not from traditional Sanskrit. It originated maybe in the 80s, late 80s, early, I don't know, something very brand new. It's a series of shapes that you hold for a long time, allowing all the effort to relax away. So before we get started, go ahead and grab your phone or some kind of timer. Set a timer 3 to 5 minutes. And so I'll work into a pose, work you speaking wise into a pose and show you how to do it. And then you can set a timer and hang out in that pose for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Usually it's 3 to 5, maybe even 7 minutes for some poses if it's something that you're really into. Otherwise, 3 to 5 should be fine. And then we'll pause after each shape and let you do that. So the first one, after you've got your timer, and preferably some kind of prop, whether it's a block or a pillow, just something nice that you can set yourself down on for a couple of these variations. First one's going to be lying on your back. Let us take a moment, let the energy settle. Maybe a few breaths to clear out whatever's been building in your day. I'm going to start by drawing both knees in toward the chest. Give a squeeze around, a little movement side to side, forward and back. Just taking a little exploration of the hips. Release in the low back. Allow the knees to move side to side. Start to bring it back to center. Keep your right knee in toward you. Take your left leg out long and set it down. Now, my leg goes straight. For some people, the way the bones are set up or the way that some muscles are a little tighter than others or connective tissues are tighter, you can keep the knee bent if it feels a little bit better in the hips. Now, I'm going to go ahead and lay it out long because that's where my body goes naturally. And then bring my right knee across my body out to the left. And working to keep your shoulders softened back. Now, depending on if this is your first time moving for the day, maybe you got some tightness in the low back and the hips, you're welcome to set something beneath your knee. I've got a block. A pillow would also work, maybe a stack of pillows, just something beneath the knee so that there's some contact there. So you're not straining anywhere in the torso or the leg or the shoulders, just to keep the shape. Keep softening, shoulders back. And if it feels okay, reach your right arm out to the right, just to increase this stretch across the body. Nice. And there's a couple variations. You can still have your left leg bent if it feels okay. If this is it all pinching in the front of your right hip, the hip that's coming across, you can lessen the angle by lowering your knee down, making it a little bit softer. Twist across. You just take your time. And when you find that place, go ahead and pause this video. Set up your timer 3 to 5 minutes. And then we'll go to the other side. Right at the end of that 3 to 5 minute timer, go ahead and really slowly unwind. Without activating too much in all the connective tissues that you've just stretched and lengthened and released. And come back to center. Both legs out long. Just a moment to let the body recoil. And then to come to the other side, start with both knees into the chest, just like we did before. Give a squeeze, maybe a little movement. And then take your right leg long to the end of your mat. Again, it can be out long, resting, or maybe the knee is slightly bent if that feels better. And start to bring your left knee across your body out to the right. And if you like, set the knee down on a prop. Just find that place where you can relax. Soften shoulders back. Maybe reach your left arm out to the left. And again, here, go ahead and pause this video, set your timer, and when it's done, we'll move on. All right, to make your way out, nice and easy, unwind, back to lying on your back. Just a moment to breathe, allow the hips to recoil, allow the spine to realign. Nice. Our next shape that we're moving into is slide your heels in toward your bum. Place the soles of your feet together with your knees out wide. Yeah, so it's just the opposite of the crossing over shape that we did before. Allow the knees to hang out wide. This is a great place for, if you have a couple blocks or a couple pillows, and it helps, you can set them beneath your knees if that creates a little more comfort in the groin area. You do want to leave a little bit of space for gravity to do the work here. So if it feels okay, nothing pinching in your low back or your hips or your knees, just let them splay out wide. If you would like, though, you can have props underneath your knees to create a little bit of ease there. And if you'd like a little bit more stretch rather than a little bit more support, you can place a pillow or a block or a stack of books or whatever it is underneath your hips, underneath the back of your hips, just to create a little bit of elevation. Not quite to your spine. You're not looking to have it up here in the spine, just a solid support beneath the pelvis, beneath all this middle section. And then try it, feet together, knees out wide. And then again here, your 3 to 5 minute timer. Go ahead and pause, and then we'll move on. Now after that timer, before you move, start by bringing a few deep inhales, exhales. This space along the front of the hips, front of the pelvis, and the groin area has had some time to loosen, create some slack, and open up with gravity. And see if you can just send your breath low into the diaphragm, way down, as if you imagine you're breathing into your low belly area. First, bring your knees in toward one another, nice and easy. If you have a prop beneath you, lift up just enough to slide it out. Set your hips back down on the ground. Nice. Now connect your knees together. Knock your knees in and walk your feet apart from each other. Yeah, maybe even to the outsides of your mat. Upper body and your hips still in the same place. Just getting the counter pose, counter stretch to reclined butterfly. That was the one with feet together, knees apart. Now we're going the opposite. Just a couple breaths here. No need to set a timer. We're just going to use this as a place to recalibrate from the last shape. And then really gently walk your feet back in toward one another. Bring both knees into your chest one last time. Give a squeeze around, maybe a little movement. And And then nice and easy, roll forward and back, starting really small at first. Build some momentum until you can easily come all the way up to a seat. Take your legs out long in front of you. Nice. And just let them relax. No need to put too much effort here. And we are going to start a forward fold. Now, it doesn't matter how far you fold, as long as you reach a good edge that works with your practice. Now, I find that if hamstrings are really tight, if low back is tight, if folding forward is not a very accessible pose for your practice, it's great to sit up on something. I like to sit on the lowest setting of a block. It just gives a little bit of angle for the pelvis to lean forward relative to the bones in the legs. Keep a nice supple bend in the backs of the hips. You don't want to hyperextend. This is going to cause any issue with the knees. We'll start by just leaning forward. Without any effort, not looking to stretch, not looking to reach farther than you've ever reached before, just rolling the spine forward, bringing chin down to the chest. Again, let gravity do the work here. Yin Yoga is different from Hatha or Vinyasa or Iyengar or Ashtanga in that it doesn't target your musculature. It targets the connective tissues, tendons, ligaments, things like that. In between, the fascia, if you know about that. Read up on fascia. It's a big part of the body that we tend to not target that much. Just relaxing forward, allowing the nervous system to be okay with some stretch. And if you're like me and you don't quite reach the legs or the floor, this can be a good place to put a block or pillow and just relax on it. Go ahead and set your timer, 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll switch. At the end of this timer, before you bring yourself out, just like we did in the last one, just start with some breath. Keeping the pose, the shape relaxed. You can just create a little bit more space for inhales and exhales. And then really gently walk yourself back up tall. If you're sitting up on a prop, go ahead and slide it out. And make your way to a child's pose. You can lean over onto one hip, bring your heels around behind you, and come through a tabletop first, hands and knees. Bring your knees slightly wider than your hips or in line with the hip, just not together so they can constrict the airflow. Knees apart. If you can, toes toward one another, and then just relax your hips back toward your heels. Now, I do this pose a lot, so my hips go right down toward my heels. If you don't, if that's a little uncomfortable, props are your friends. You can set a block or pillow beneath the hips. Or maybe if it feels better, if you're feeling tightness in your ankles from flexing out, or from, plantar flexing this way, you can place a pillow beneath your heel or beneath your shins to allow that some softness. And then maybe even if it's tightness in your hips and your spine and your shoulders, you can rest your forehead on something forward. Just wants to be able to rest all of the points in the body that touch down. Just relax there. And you may notice as we work further in that you want to adjust. Maybe take your prop a little bit further down. Maybe move it out altogether. So by the end of your 3 or 5 minutes, you're totally down on the ground. Go ahead and set your timer, and then we'll move. All right. to make your way out of this child's pose. Really slowly forward onto your forearms, then press up, tabletop. And then gently lower yourself all the way down onto your front, lying on your belly. Just a moment to feel gravity at this angle. Put a lot of work into the hips, put a lot of work into the knees and the low back, and see about just breathing here to allow it to relax. And to move into our next pose, go ahead and take your right arm straight out to the right, palm face down. So I'm going to show you on this side, but I'm doing my right arm straight out from the shoulder, palm face down, and start to roll onto your right side. Move very slowly here. If you have any issues with the shoulder, take your time, adjust as necessary. Maybe this is it. Maybe just right here, both legs long, the arm reaches back, and you allow the right pec to open up a little bit. If you want to go even further, maybe bend your right knee, place the right thigh down to the ground, and then bend your left knee, point it up to the sky. And then you can place your left foot behind your right knee just to hold a little bit more twist in the spine and the hips. And if this feels okay, you can stay right here. If you'd like a little bit more, you can rest your left hand right there at your low back. Get yourself set up. This is a great place for a prop, a pillow, underneath the head. If you find that your head is dangling or doesn't quite touch the ground, great place to just lie on a pillow. Soften where you can. Any of those variations along the way are good places to practice. Continue by seeing about breathing across the front of the body. What we're opening now, pec minor, into the shoulder, little bit of twist, little bit of hip opening. So you can send your breath all the way along the front of your torso. And then go ahead and hit your timer, and then we'll change. At the end of your 3 to 5 minutes, really gently unwind just the way you went in. Back to lying on your front, and relax for a moment. Arms at your sides, cheek off to one side. I'm going to start with the other side. Turn your cheek to the right. Left arm straight out to the left, and start to roll onto your left side. And again, any variation between. Maybe you stay right here, and this is plenty. If you'd like some more, bend both knees. Point your right knee up to the sky. Plant your right foot behind your left knee to stabilize. Great place for a pillow, if it serves you. And then if you want, you can rest your right hand at your low back. When you find that place that's going to work for you, see about releasing some of the effort. Sometimes in a yin practice, we forget that it's not about active, not about stretching the musculature. It's the connective tissues between bones, between muscle and bone, between muscles themselves. Just breathing there, allowing the nervous system to relax. When you find your place, go ahead and set your timer, and then we'll change. Alright, to make your way out, gently reverse it, roll back onto your front. Again, hands by your sides, chin off to one side. Couple breaths into the upper back to re-expand the parts that we've been contracting by opening the front of the chest. Go ahead and flip over onto your back. This can be straight over, flipping like this, or if you're a stickler for top and back of the mat, welcome to switch around however it makes you comfortable. I'm going to set up what are called eagle arms. If you're familiar, you stack the right elbow inside the left, bring either backs of your hands together or wrap your palms all the way around. Just lift your elbows relative to your chest. Press your hands gently away. This is a little counter action to open up the back after we just did a chest opener. Just a couple breaths here. Maybe move them elbows up and down. Explore the space in the back and the shoulders. And gently release. Maybe a little shake. And set up your eagle arms on the other side. Left elbow stacks inside the right, and then backs of the hands together or palms all the way around. And lift the elbows, press your hands gently away from your face. Allow the space between your shoulder blades to open up. Maybe a little movement forward and back with the elbows. Real gentle, not too much effort. Gently unwind, release onto your back. Take your Shavasana. And now here, Shavasana does count as one of the shapes that we're making. It's a very important pose at the end of the yoga practice, asana practice. It's a moment for the body to process the movement, process any slight discomforts that may have arisen. Set your timer, 3 to 5 minutes. Take your rest. I really encourage anyone in a yin practice to take more rest than they think they need. So we'll go ahead and cut this video here. You're welcome to stay in your Shavasana as long as you're able. Breathe softly, releasing effort. Thanks for joining. Wishing you all the relaxation in the world.